WTHC. Good morning, everybody. We are hanging out. We are you're hanging with Da.Hippie and DoktorHigh, and we have a special guest, Chardele. Chardele, how are you, sweetie? So nice to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good. Well, it's
Morning.
actually afternoon over here, but yes, good morning to you over there on that side of the world. Good afternoon to everybody over here on the East Coast. But we deal with that all the
Mhm.
time, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I have friends that are just getting up out of bed over there on the West Coast, sleeping in
Yeah, I'm
today.
from New Jersey, so I'm
Oh,
familiar with
my
it.
wife is from New Jersey originally, and
Oh,
we're in
there you go.
Pennsylvania now. Yeah, she's
hmm
from Point Pleasant.
Oh, okay. I'm a little further up, like Sandy Hook, if she knows Sandy
Yep,
Hook.
I've heard of it. Yep, of course, yeah,
Mhm.
of course. So, Dr. High, I told you I'm going to behave myself. I'm going to let you do all the talking. I'm just going to kind of sit here and be quiet. And try
Don't
my
believe a
best.
word he says, Chardele. It's not true.
Try my best to behave myself.
Good
Okay.
morning, everybody. How you doing, Robert? Robert, Reggie, Lori, how's everyone this morning? Yeah, so I've been really excited since you commented on that post. I don't know, it was a week or a week and a half ago, and we just messaged a little bit like that. I've been really looking forward to having a conversation with you. And then, of course, you sent me the podcast, which I listened to. And after that, I was really very interested in having this discussion because, there's not enough clinical evidence out there, not enough clinical trials out there that we can really, absorb that information and take it. But it's the real patient experience, the real individual experience of people who've transitioned to using cannabis therapy in their treatment for whatever condition they're suffering from and have found great success. And it seems, from what I understand to your story, you've had a really incredible experience with RSO. So I'd love to hear about your story and whatever you're comfortable sharing with us, of course. It'd be very interesting.
Okay. So
And don't rush because we have plenty of time. As long as you have time, we have time. So take your time, and Dr. High will interrupt you numerous times.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's me. I'll be the one to interrupt you numerous times. All right, go ahead. I'm going to quiet down.
okay. So when I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, it was in the middle of COVID, and I kept getting misdiagnosed at the hospital. And then finally, I went into a gastroenterologist's office and I said, I need to see a doctor right away. I'm dying. My body's telling me I'm dying. At this point, I probably lost 70 pounds. Nothing is staying down, not even water. And there was horrific burning going up and down. So thank God this gastroenterologist agreed to see me right away, put me in the hospital, did the endoscopy, and then came back and said, Chardele, can you give me 3 more days? I'm not happy with the report. We can't classify or stage your tumor, but we know it's cancer, but we can't classify it. And without staging it, we can't give you a treatment plan.
Right.
So I had to wait like another week, and he sent it to another group of radiologists, and they still couldn't detect it. So he said, look, we're going to label it stage X. We don't know where it's at, but we're going to treat it as stage X, which is very rare. But for those people that are in the cancer arena, it is unheard of. We're used to hearing stage 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Stage X just means they couldn't identify it. And they're not sure if it's metastasized or not right now. So we're just going to give it an X. So with that, I saw the oncologist. And quite frankly, with esophageal cancer, the odds are not good with any cancer, basically.
Right.
But he gave me a treatment plan. I did chemo, I did radiation. Through the chemo and radiation, I decided to do some research because I'm a Reiki master. I like the natural stuff. But I felt to live, I had to do this chemo and radiation.
Right.
So I did the chemo and radiation, and about 3/4 of the way through, I come across this RSO stuff and I start reading it. And trying to understand it and picking up mentors along the way.
Right.
and looking at YouTube videos and watching how they're making it and so on and so forth. And studying it and trying to understand what it does for the body and how it does. And so I got very involved in the esophageal cancer community and then very involved in the RSO community, trying to understand the relationship and what works and what doesn't.
Right.
And like I said, I did a lot of natural things. I did acupuncture, massage, Reiki, SHT, turmeric, bone broth, all the things that they tell cancer patients to do. The most important thing I found is everybody's body is unique. What works for me in that RSO field may not work for you.
Right.
So, and I think it may go back to know the grower, know if it's organic. You got to start with the soil, and you have to know, because without that knowledge, your RSO may not be good.
Right.
You can send it to all the labs you want. I have yet to see or find a lab that's accurate.
Consistent either. Right? Because if you take the same sample and you send it out to 5 labs, you'll get 5 different results. You know, so it's on different testing methods, but for some reason they just never seem to be consistent. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then knowing that, after doing lab research and knowing that takes me back to the grower. And in a lot of countries, and even here in the United States, that is very difficult and challenging in a lot of states.
Yes.
So, you know, and when you, like you said, even if you get a product and you test it and you get the same product 3 months later, they are going to test different.
Right. Because every harvest, even from the same strain, has variation. Right.
Correct.
Because the climate conditions are changed. You'll have a different, you know, sun shade ratios, perhaps, or many different factors. But yeah, very hard to maintain absolute consistency.
My first interruption of the day. Just for our folks that are listening and are paying attention out there, just give them an idea where you live. You don't have to tell us your street address, but, you know, like just, you know, Arizona is what I heard, right?
Yeah, which is really important. Arizona.
Yeah, because I want to know if it's a medical state, if it's not, you know, those people need to know, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Arizona is legal, medicinal, and recreational.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So, and that does make a difference. And thank you for bringing that point up. So, what I did was immediately go get my medicinal marijuana license, and talk to the doctor, because what that did was it gave me the confidence to go into my oncologist and go, look, I'm serious about this. I've done the research. This is my medicine. I will take what you're telling me. We'll find a happy medium. But the only way I felt confident in talking about it, and even talking with you or anybody else in my podcast, is that I did get the license. And I now I'm blessed that the medicinal marijuana doctor here where I live gives out my information to patients so that I can educate you and guide you.
Well, you know, just as a side note to what you just said, any resources I have as part of DoktorHigh, I am always happy to contribute to you. I have 30 books. You know, I have a lot of information and a lot of things I can contribute to people that you work with. And I'm happy to do that. And we can talk more about that as we go forward. But if you're out there helping people like that, I am more than happy to give you full free access to all of my resources to help with what you're doing.
And I want to say that if you ever need somebody to smoke with, I'm here. You got free access to share your weed with me.
Okay, well, here's the funny thing with esophageal cancer, and I love that. Esophageal cancer patients have a hard time swallowing, obviously.
Yes.
And keeping things down. So not only did I do the RSO, but then I have to smoke, and the smoking is what would give me the appetite to then eat.
Yeah. Well, it's because of the immediate effects, right? That the rate of absorption through the lungs through inhalation is the fastest route of delivery there can be. So that's why.
However,
yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. Sublingual is the fastest delivery.
Oh.
But with someone with liver cancer and maybe a stage 4, I'm going to recommend probably suppositories and subliminal.
Yeah.
Suppositories to bypass the liver.
Yeah, I'm actually this is a topic we've been talking about because I have issues with edibles. I drank 150 whatever that was the other day.
150 milligrams of nano-emulsified cannabinoids,
water,
THC, and no effect.
None.
Yeah. Okay. I'm learning a lot about that. So
I'm gonna be sticking things up my butt soon, guys.
I don't. If you're doing, if I know a patient's doing RSO, there's a few things I don't want to do in edibles. Edibles are really, again, it's your chemical makeup in the body. Everybody's different. But I don't like mixing edibles. And right now, I'm not even encouraging CBD, because if you take CBD too close to when you took the RSO, you're going to shut down the CB1 receptor, maybe the CB2, I think. Like, you're going to start shutting down the receptors that we want open to cure the cancer. So if you're taking RSO for pain, go ahead and add your CBD if you want. But I don't think any of us have quite a handle on taking the RSO and throwing the CBD on it. I've seen where it has intensified the RSO, and if the RSO is pretty potent.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like, I don't know too many people who want to intensify that. But
I'm so jealous. I mean, is an RSO something that I can never take because of what my thing is going on? Is that, like with my whole edible thing, is that something that I'll never be able to not enjoy? I don't want to take it. I mean, if it's something that
Okay, so here's the thing with RSO. You can take
hold
edibles.
Hold on. Let me run my commercials because we got to do those, and we'll talk about that when we come back. It's okay. I try to keep track of them. If we miss it, we miss it. But we'll talk about RSOs and my liver. I guess my liver.
Yes.
Yeah. My liver. Yeah. We'll be right back. You're hanging with Da.Hippie and DoktorHigh and our special guest Chardele. Thank you so much, Chardele.
You're welcome.
Okay, man.
This is going to be great. You have great knowledge.
The radio can no longer hear us, but everybody here can still hear us. So
It's up to you.
Can YouTube.
So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping.
Oh, this is going to be phenomenal.
Either emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't.
Chardele, feel free to take your medicine if you need to. We don't
give up.
We don't shy away from taking our medicine on air.
This is your time. Show the world, your family, and yourself.
And if you don't mind, blow your smoke up my way. I'm out.
Go out there and be the best caregiver for this world.
I was laughing at you, right? Because you were talking about sticking things up your butt. I was thinking, you got a fist up there all day long, and you're worried about a suppository.
Right, I'm worried about a little tampon here, and I got a fist up my ass every day.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick, and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing.
All right, Barbara Beaver still doesn't understand what RSO is.
1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry.
We've already explained it to you, Barbara, like 1,000 times this month.
She can't.
But we'll do it again for you.
She doesn't have the energy.
Hey, Dorothy, how are you today? Thank you very much.
Good morning, Dorothy. How are you?
We're feeling quite lucky to have Chardele with us today.
But it's something that
very enlightening.
Working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste.
Tomorrow,
this food is then provided to families and children.
Oh, I talked to a seed dude.
Should be about using your imagination.
He's going to send me some samples. He's not ready to come on the air. He says he's way too busy to come on the air. I said, well, we'll schedule something in the beginning, but if you want to give me some free samples that I can give away to people as gifts, for being here and hanging out and listening. And I said, and we'll shout your name out.
Hey, you
Yeah, you. Are you looking to have some crochet?
Good, Marcel. How are you? How are you, my friend?
For you? Then you need to check out Who Happy 23
from the hospital yet?
He's still there.
Still there, eh?
He needs a good fister.
Everything, anything.
Somebody get up in there and figure out what the fuck's wrong.
Stickers,
yeah, there's really no research on what he's dealing with at all.
Definitely do it for you. You want an I hate my ex?
I say you just smoke weed anyway.
Anything, and I mean anything.
Well, there's no harm.
Cheap and reasonable prices. Check her out. You have.
Oh, Chardele just scared me a little bit.
TikTok.
Why?
Say bye-bye to water. Holistic Health Water has certified
not in a bad
medical
way,
grade
but
water
I mean,
ionizers
she's
that
like,
make 7 types
don't
of water,
take
including
CBD
healthy
if you're
alkaline.
doing this,
There's
and
a
I'm like, but
5
then you said
micron
if you're doing
filter
against
and each
cancer,
machine
and I
lasts
don't.
25 to 30
God
years.
bless, thank God I don't have it
Attached to
right
your
now.
faucet or
And I
installed.
can see some logic to that, right? Because CBD
Yeah. As she continued, you know, she scared me
Water.org.
originally. I was
Get a
like,
free
whoa.
Yeah, absolutely. See logic in
I'm
it.
switching over to CBD right now.
Extra filter
Yeah.
free.
It's the first time I've heard that, but I can see logic in it for sure.
All right,
Yeah, let me
song.
check
We'll be
my-
right back.
Hey, it's Bill Schmidt Jr., a.k.a.
It's 420 somewhere. Smoke them if you got them.
No, distillate isn't RSO, Lori. Distillate is distillate. RSO remains a full extract cannabis oil. So all
Please like, subscribe, and share if you can.
distillate is
Smoke them if you got them.
the process of distillate is to
Oh,
eliminate
Dorothy, that's amazing. I'm so glad you guys are friends.
elements of the
And
plant.
she was able to help you. Can you see the chat, Chardele?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, I know some people are on if you're on a laptop or something, it's easier, but some people come on their phone and they can't see. Yeah, the chat, you got your friend Dorothy's over here.
Are we talking yet? No, he's singing.
No, we're still in the music.
Once the music's over, we'll be coming back.
Okay, cool.
We got about 2 minutes left in this song, so.
Okay, thank you.
Weed is all I need. Smoke that weed, smoke that weed. Weed is all I breathe. Smoke that weed, smoke that weed. Brought up in LA for my relief. I'm in love with the THC. Roll that shit. Oh, Kat, how are you, Kat? Nice to meet you. Thank you guys so much for coming over. We love you guys. Love having you guys. We're here every day.
Hi, Kat. Hey, John.
Monday through Friday, we hang out here and we talk about marijuana and all the benefits. And I don't like to talk about the negatives.
No, but occasionally
there are some, I guess.
Let the good times roll. Therapy, earth, body, and soul. World, give me.
Please subscribe. We've taken a substantial lead on Master Rochi. We now have 92, and he only has 90 subscribers. We're on our way to 1 million.
we're pulling away.
Pulling away from him now. I think it's unfair, though. We do a show every day of the week. He only does 2.
Yeah, that's because he's got a real job.
He's got a real job? Oh. Wait a minute here, sir. I work every single day, 12 hours a day here on this radio. And then I'm stressing about it when I'm not working because then somebody else is working and I'm like, oh my God, I hope everything's going well. I hope he didn't tell everybody to go screw off right now while I'm sleeping because he does the overnight. I know he would never do that, but I still, All right, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. We're coming back live to the rest of the world. Right now, everybody here has been still watching us and laughing at us. Roll that shit. Lick that shit and burn it. Roll that shit. Lick that shit and burn it.
They know the music. They know the words.
Yes. Well, you play about 6 times a day.
WTHC. Oh, by the way, my member is being made. DoktorHigh.
Oh, nice.
It's in works.
That's funny.
I don't want to talk about it with Chardele here because that's inappropriate. But
yeah.
Anyway, get back to Chardele.
we want to keep it for shock value anyway. Nobody needs to know until it's time to know.
Right. The day it happens. Anyway, Chardele, thank you so much. WTHC, we're back. We're hanging out with Dr. High, and we have our friend Chardele Miller, right? And she's hanging out with us, and she's telling us her miraculous story. And we left off with my liver.
Okay, so
all right, I'm going to shut up now.
Remember, I am counseling cancer patients, but I also counsel people with chronic pain. Cancer patients, the reason I don't want you mixing the RSO with the CBD is the CBD can inhibit the RSO from working depending on how soon you take it, before or after. So for new cancer patients, I prefer you put that CBD down for a little bit. For those in pain, hit that CBD. The CBD is good. You could take it with the edibles. But again, I would still be keeping my liver cleansed, and I would be taking milk thistle. Milk thistle will help keep the liver cleansed and will also help regenerate the cells.
I kind of lied. I said I wasn't going to interrupt, but here I go. What about people who are on a regimen of CBD because they have seizures and now they've been diagnosed with cancer? You still want them to put that CBD down because that's like what controls most of their seizures.
Oh, the RSO is going to control.
That'll help with the seizures as well.
Again, I think there's a few factors. There's a transition period. Okay, we have to make sure the patient can handle RSO. Not everyone can handle RSO. And when you look up, and RSO stands for Rick Simpson Oil. This was developed, 25 years ago, originally for skin cancer. And then the people along the way evolved it. CBD is kind of new on the market, but we know that in the CBD, there's 0.03, I think it is, percent of THC. But when you start hitting that CBD with a THC product or like RSO, they can cancel each other out. The CBD can cancel the RSO out. So if CBD works for you, take it. But if you're finding CBD's not working, or you want to get off morphine or a heavy opioid, then I'm going to suggest the RSO. But only you know your body. Here's the other thing. You have to know your body and your tolerance. And with RSO, we ask you to build up a tolerance. And everybody's got these dosing charts, and you don't have to do that. That is a tool. It is not for everyone. There are some people that can't reach a gram a day, and still become net. Because the reality is, in layman terms, there are dormant receptors in the body. The RSO is activating those receptors, thereby giving you a bigger army in your body to fight. Like, that's layman simple.
That's not fair, Natasha. Hold on. I'm being harassed over there in the crowd. She's
wonderful.
That's not right, Natasha. Good golly. I'm not that special. We do this for you guys. We talk slow for some of our friends out there.
Do I need to talk slower?
No. She said that she loves that you're talking slow enough for me.
The rest of us can comprehend at regular speed. How are you, Tina?
You're doing fantastic. Don't worry about it, Chardele. I got some smart asses in the crowd over there that like to mess with me.
Well, you got to have fun at the same time when you're talking about.
I don't tell nobody that I mess with them the whole time in the back.
For me, I'm curious, and that's one thing I wanted to ask you, because you touched on dosing there and at the gram a day, and I know with Rick Simpson, it's supposed to be a regimen, right, where you're doing 60 grams in 90 days, and you work your way up, starting with that grain of rice, and then progressively build. But once you get to the point where you're at 1,000 milligrams a day of RSO, that is a serious dose, right? You have to be prepared to to experience that, and not everybody's comfortable.
I'll tell you what, my first full gram of RSO, I was in the bed for 2 days.
Oh, I believe it.
Not moving.
What was your cannabis experience prior to going into experiment with RSO? Had cannabis been a part of your life previously? Had you used it as a young person and then strayed away from it for most of your adult life, and then come back later on when you had to combat your cancer, or how was it for you?
Great question. Thank you. In my high school days, we had the marijuana, and then I stopped and shied away from it. So when I got the cancer and got back into this, well, I never really knew the marijuana industry, but it's completely different from my high school days, where my brother probably gave me the joint, or my girlfriend or something.
Right.
This is completely different.
It's so amazing. I learn new things every single day. This guy here next to me is an absolute genius, and you, my friend, are impressing me as well with your knowledge. My goodness, the things I learn every day. And I've been a pothead for 40 plus, but I was one of them guys that would just get the bag. I didn't care what it was, as long as it looked like weed. I'd cram my bowl full and I would get high, and that's it. And now I'm like experiencing it. I'm tasting it. I'm trying different things. It's so freaking amazing. I'm so sorry I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, it's very amazing, because the beginning of the learning of this journey into marijuana is your strains. You know, it's the indica. What does that do? Sativa. What does that do? I'm a sativa girl. I could do sativa in the morning, but I like my indica at night. But again,
I can't do sativa because of my bipolar disorder. Sativas put me into a mania, and then I get crazy and I get myself in trouble. My wife gets very sad and she frowns upon me. She yells at me, "You shouldn't be doing sativas. You know better."
So
I like sativas personally.
When you're preparing your RSO, you're actually doing separate preparations, one sativa, one indica preparation, and then you use one during the daytime and then one in the evening?
How do I say this? If I don't make an effort to make sativa RSO, but I do have patients that maybe that's all they have, and so they want to trade that sativa for the indica.
Okay.
Now, go ahead. You were about to say something. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Well, Mike, I have a question. So, like, now you got onto this Rick Simpson Oil, of course, and I've heard millions of great stories about it, but I have no knowledge really at all. But what I want to know is now, like, you're a success, right? I mean, so far so good. Everything's going well. Are you on this forever? Are you going to, I mean, is it something that somebody should be on forever after being diagnosed with it? Is it with the big C? I like to call it the big C. Yeah. Is that a decent question, Dr. High?
It's a great question. The questions, again, I'm going to give you what the tool is or what people are following. But I'm also going to tell you, I've seen great success stories on a little bit of RSO, and a 1-strain RSO, not a 6-strain or an 8-strain like we do, because we want to get as many terpenes, cannabinoids, everything we can hit in there. Yes. Again, it's knowing the body and playing with it and knowing your chemical makeup. We use indica. Indica is healing. Indica, the body heals when you're sleeping.
Yes.
And so that's why we use indica. And yes, I make the oil. I will not make an effort to make sativa oil, because that is not what we use to cure cancer patients. That may be my preference in the morning. I may smoke it. If I have some oil, I may do it. But indica is the healing. So maintenance dose is 1 to 2 grams a month. And yes, you tolerable for the rest of your life.
1 to 2 grams a month for maintenance for the rest of your life.
Right.
Yeah,
now
that's really tolerable, because your dosing is You're talking 2,000 milligrams divided by 30 days. So you're at, 66, 33 milligrams a day? No, it's not that much, is it?
No, in the RSO world, 1 milligram equals 1 milliliter.
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of people don't get that.
He gets a lot. I don't.
Oh, it's a lot.
I'm not a mather. Too early in the morning for math.
It's a lot at RSO. So if I go up to the mountains, and I call them oilers, and I go make oil with some mountain men, then we're going to put it in like a container like this. Can you see that?
Come to your right a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
like that. We'll just put it in there.
Yep.
We'll heat it up and scoop it out.
Right.
And those
I have a question before we go any further, though, real quick. So you say to stay on that much, I forget the number you said, is a dose that you should take for the rest of your life after being diagnosed. Now, why wouldn't that be a dose that everybody should be on? Why not? Like,
you're absolutely correct.
I should start that now, that little bit of it every day, and start that regimen for the rest of my life, because why not use it as a preventative as well as a cure or helper or whatever we want to call it?
Well, it's cannabis for general wellness, right? Because you're still engaging the endocannabinoid system. You're still causing those receptors to be active. So it's logical. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely logical.
I just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
I think what happens, we don't reach out for that knowledge, a lot of people. And by the time we get the knowledge, we're thrown this tool that says I have to do this many grams and build up a tolerance, and some people can't.
And it's intense. You know what I mean? Like that's intense. RSO is a very intense preparation. And for somebody who has not had experience with cannabis, I'm sure it's quite intimidating. And the feeling that they're going to get from it, the fact that they're going to be locked to the couch, they're going to be feeling it psychologically. You know what I mean? It's got to be scary.
It is, but we do tell you to build up the tolerance. And so however we feel you can do that, microdosing, suppositories, start with a toothpick to put that in your mouth, because if you've never touched pot, and possibly maybe an opioid, you are going to be high as a kite on a little toothpick.
So you just dip the toothpick and put it under the tongue and.
Oh, I thought they made toothpicks out of RSO. I'm like, what do you do? Chew on a toothpick? Dissolves in your mouth?
What we want to see is how tolerant you are to it. Some people, here's the oil. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's very thick. It looks like dirty car oil.
Come back here this way. Around your face.
That's RSO. There it is.
There it is. Stop right there. Don't move. Perfect. You can see it. Great. All right. Everybody sees it. It's like a black resin tar. Kind of looks like the stuff you pull out of your bowl when you're cleaning your bowl out. And look at that.
Oh, worse.
She just took the medicine.
It is.
It's not a good taste, is it?
It's terrible.
So were those freaking drops I did the other day.
Listen, so is Buckley's cough medicine. And you know what the old commercial says? It tastes awful, but it works.
It works.
So,
all right, Chardele, our friend, I mean, we just basically hit on it, but our friend Marcel here just found out yesterday that his younger sister has end-stage cancer. I would like for you to, give him some hints and stuff when we come back. We got to do a commercial. We'll do that quick, and we'll be right back. You're hanging with Da.Hippie, DoktorHigh, and our good friend Chardele.
Thank you.
Okay, men. This is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this.
I'm a little ahead,
you're here now.
I figured get ahead.
You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them. Doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there.
Yeah, your mom should definitely be listening.
Caregiver this world has ever seen.
Suffered through numerous battles of cancer.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Monica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child
commercial in once a day.
1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality of the country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change.
Facebook user, how are
Each year,
you?
the Feeding America network of food banks.
I thought we agreed to call them FU now.
Food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey, Mississippi, why don't we take a ride to Dauphin, PA today?
Oh, hi, Sam.
Dauphin? What's in Dauphin?
Bella's Badass Crystals.
Oh, but I thought you hang out
Go
with them
on over to-
Facebook and on TikTok.
Good morning, Mom.
on
How are you?
Mondays, Tuesdays,
Mom, you really need to listen to this young lady and
Today, I
Dr.
wanna go
High.
there and pick up all my
They can
great
help
finds.
you with some
That
stuff.
sounds like a great road trip. That's Bella's Badass Crystals on TikTok and Facebook. But you can also find them at the top of the mountain in Dauphin, PA.
They are badass.
Badger Heart Puppetry. Badger Heart Puppetry. Badger Heart Puppetry. If you need some kick-ass puppets, contact Thorge at 1-636-234-1535. He has all your puppet needs. He can fix puppets, build puppets, custom-made puppets. He has puppets off the rack for cheap prices. Contact Thorge today at 1-636-234-1535 or on TikTok or Facebook at Badger Heart Puppetry. He also makes LARPing items too. WTHC, we're back and we're hanging with Dr. High and our friend Chardele. Chardele is explaining to us her situation. I want to say cure, but you never know. Right?
Right. With esophageal cancer patients, and I think every cancer is different, we have to continue our testing and continue to do everything the oncologist says because we are not considered cure until we're 5 years NED.
5 years when it's official. And then you still have to go back yearly or every 2 years or whatever and keep getting checked for the rest of your life. But thank God, because like my mother-in-law just showed up and she keeps going back because she's had it and she went and she keeps coming up with more, unfortunately. Every time she turns around, the lady, I feel horrible for her. So I wanted her to be here because you are going to be able to explain some of the stuff and maybe she can catch some stuff and learn some stuff from us. So start over. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Dr. High. Go ahead. Ask the questions.
You're preparing your own RSO.
Mm-hmm.
You've learned the process. Would you explain a little bit to everybody how you actually do that?
Okay, so I'm an old lady by myself. Okay, so I don't have all the equipment or the money invested like other oilers, I call them, do.
Yep.
So I use a crock pot. Every oiler really makes this RSO different.
Yes.
Some use Everclear 99%, some use isopropyl alcohol. What you do is we take the flower and bud, and you take as many strains as you can get, indica or indica hybrid. I do not decarb the flower.
All flour, you said, right?
Right. I put the flower.
You're saying like an ounce of this, an ounce of that, an ounce of this, an ounce of that, or whatever your crock pot will fit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes they only have an ounce. So let's say, and an ounce is only going to give me about 3 grams.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. It's hard. I mean, some of us don't have farms in our backyards where we can just go pick indica and be like, all right, I got enough for my next RSO batch. So we have to go and buy an ounce of flower at the dispensary, which some dispensaries like mine is quite expensive to be wasting, not wasting. Obviously it's medicine for you, but for me, it's very hard to like put marijuana into something and make it wet and destroy it.
That's psychological.
Psychological, like when I see people making bubble hash and they're putting all that flour into the water, and I'm like, oh my God, no, that's what we're doing now. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So basically, I put that in a mason jar with, I use isopropyl alcohol.
How long do you cook it for, or how?
Into a crock pot.
Okay.
And you can tell it'll take hours to make.
All right, hold on for 1 second. Stop for 1 second. Now you're putting each strain into a mason jar. Is that what I'm understanding, or are you putting it all into the bottom of the crock pot with the isolated propyl alcohol?
No, only the alcohol goes into the crock pot.
Okay, no. The crock pot
it's going to go in with each strain of flour. You're going to have alcohol, and then you're going to boil water around the outside of it, right?
Let me start over. The crock pot has about this much water in it, right? And I take a mason jar, if I can find what I'm using. A mason jar, a pickle jar, a big a mason jar like this. Can you wait?
No. Right there. Yep.
There you go. Yep.
All right. Okay. So the bigger size like mason jar. Yep. Okay.
I'm going to do as many strains of indica as I can get in here.
Okay, into that one mason jar.
Some of us keep our flour in the freezer as well as our alcohol. If you're using Everclear in the freezer, some of us don't. Like I said, every oiler is different.
But that's about preservation of terpenes. By retaining those super cold temperatures, it's how you preserve the terpenes. So.
And you can reclaim the alcohol. You can, if you're using Everclear, you can reclaim it, which helps with the cost. So I will fill this with as much flour.
You drank it afterwards.
And bud.
You use it again?
The crock pot. Put the alcohol in or whatever, the Everclear or isopropyl, and cook it. And cook it and keep cooking it. That's going to take a couple hours. Then what I do is strain this through like a cheesecloth, and you need to strain it, and you need to really strain it, because if you don't strain it right, you are going to leave either alcohol or isopropyl alcohol on your product.
Yeah.
So you have to strain it really good. And then I cook it again. And
for our friends out there listening, real quick, you don't have to make it yourself. You can get it at a dispensary near you. You can get Rick Simpson Oil. She just happens to make hers because she takes it all the time, right? And it's cheaper this way than
much more cost effective.
Yeah, but my mother-in-law doesn't have plants in her yard, and I don't know. She doesn't need to go through this whole process. We're just explaining it now, but. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let me back up on the okay, so then after I do that, I put it in an indented plate on top of the crock pot to then cook again until you don't see any little bubbles. You're ready to go. Then I can either load it in a syringe, leave it in the plate, depending on what I'm doing with it, and scrape it out as I need it. Okay, so let me talk to you about the dispensaries. Okay. The dispensaries claim to have what they call RSO. Okay?
Yep.
And some dispensaries I have found in legal states really focused on medicinal marijuana have done really great with that. And they may have a good product, but most of the product is a distillate. It is not RSO. It will help with pain, but it will not do what we want it to do for cancer.
Okay. See? All right. So then my mother-in-law needs to go out and start growing some weed.
No, she doesn't, because
You could look for a FICO also. The FICO is very similar to RSO, the full extract cannabis oil, but
not by that look. Chardele just gave you a look like, oh God, what is this guy saying?
Okay, here's what I did. What I did was I knew I'm not a grower. I can't afford to buy ounces of weed. I reached out to my local growers in Arizona. I am blessed that they welcomed me with open arms. A lot of them have had cancer in the family. They understand it. And then a lot of them want to learn about the RSO. So they were happy to come to my home and donate. They've donated seeds, they've donated weed, they donated clones. They are happy to help. That's
amazing. Shout out to all of them, man. That's awesome.
That's the cannabis community. You know, it's a really good
It's all
community
about love.
for the most part.
The cannabis community is a good community, but I'm going to tell you that if you went out to Google RSO, number one, Rick Simpson does not sell RSO. You're going to find a lot of scammers, a lot. And then you may get a product, you may not. You may get a product that is contaminated, you won't know.
Nope.
Unless you test it. And again, I'm finding the labs are inaccurate. Like you said earlier, we could send the same product to 4 labs. I'm going to get 4 different test results.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way.
No, there should be a standardized testing, especially as you move towards legalization. Here in Canada, where I am, where we're fully legal, I work in the industry and the licensed producer side of it. So in the medical cultivation, and recreational cultivation, all done in the same facility under the same, there was no different standard set for cleanliness of this facility or anything like that. It was the same. But we would send out 3 samples from each harvest to be tested by labs because Health Canada requires that COA, that certificate of analysis, before you can get a SKU to put the product into market. And the company would always use the most favorable lab result. And they were always different because I was a packaging and inventory supervisor. I saw the results, so I saw what was going on. And what they really need to do is institute a standardized testing policy where every lab has to test with the same methodology under the same conditions so that the consumer, whether they be medical or recreational, are assured that that product is what is stated to be. Right. And I think the state should consider that as they move towards legalization, but it's going to be the Wild West in the U.S. When it comes to legalization, you're going to have people who have the money to buy the licenses and get into the game. And the problem is you have 2 different kinds of people in the cannabis industry. You have cannabis people and you have business people. Cannabis people care about their product. They take pride in what they do. And it's important for them to put forth the most beneficial, high quality product they can because it's their passion. Business people don't give a shit. They want to get it out the door as cheaply as possible to maximize profits and appease shareholders. So there's going to be 2 different standards of product in the marketplace. And the problem is you're going to have to figure out who's who. You know what I mean? You're not going to know.
Exactly.
That's the problem. Yeah.
So if I go to my dispensary here and my dispensary is locked down, you cannot have another dispensary near my dispensary within 25 miles. So he's got the audience. But again, when I read labels, they are mislabeled. When I go to do research on RSO, it's distillate. I've brought that to his attention. He has 2 sativas and 1 indica. RSO is pretty much indica. We don't really do sativa. So why is a dispensary selling 3 products, 2 sativa, 1 indica? Because you don't know what you have. You don't know what you're selling.
Yeah. And no, it's because people will come in and ask for it and they don't have access to the proper product. So they just want to label something so they have a sale.
No knowledge. Like myself, when I first started going to the dispensary, I used to hand them my amount of money and I'd be like, yo, just give me the best stuff. And they'd give me dirt. I'd come home with like crusty buds that were falling apart and dusty and sandy. And I'd be like, what the hell is this?
Well, there's nothing better to a retail business than an uneducated consumer.
That's
right?
why
Or
I
you're seeing that
love
there's no
having
delivery
him
point.
here, because now I'm an educated consumer. Now I know when I go there, I go there and I know what I'm buying. I see, I look, I experience,
And,
you know.
and that's a lot of the reason
But
that
it's
I
still,
kept people
go ahead. I'm
during
sorry.
the show to do things themselves, because you really can do your own thing these days. It's so easy to do, but people think it's really complicated, but it's really not complicated at all. Now, I have a question for you, Chardele, and I wonder if you think it would be viable or not. Do you think that you could take all the different available isolates, right? So now you can buy CBN, CBG, CBD, THCA, THC. Now, could you actually synthesize an RSO using all isolated compounds, adding your own terpenes and doing your own blend? Or do you feel that the real magic in RSO is the fact that it's actually extracted from the plant itself and not from isolated components and cannabinoids found within the plant?
Well, that's a great question. And I think that I'm learning that every day and maybe learning more every day. But for me, as for my comfort level, I want to see my grow. I want to see the grow, because everything starts from that soil. We have had cases in Arizona where contaminated weed has come out of the dispensary. And they have to call the customers and get that back and replace it.
So was that microbial contamination, heavy metal contamination?
I don't know the exact contamination. I can tell you it came out of Tucson. I don't know the manufacturer, but again, there's your label issue. Wouldn't you have caught that?
That's what I was just gonna say. You know, like, so you said, yeah, all right, I feel good. I'm going to a legal dispensary, but still the labels are mislabeled. You know, I'm still not getting what they're telling me I'm getting, and that's a bunch of crap. You know, but that's why everybody should be just growing their own. But
Well, and the problem is with the labs is they only test what you pay them to test. So if you don't pay them to test for pesticide, if you don't pay them to test for microbial, they don't test for it, because each test costs money, and it's not cheap. I think it was about $2,000 a sample for testing at the lab that we had to submit. You know what I mean? So most of these guys out there that are packaging stuff, selling it on Facebook or doing whatever, who are giving tested results on their packaging, are most likely not upfront about what's really going on. They're just making it up because they know nobody is going to challenge their numbers, and it's a sales
numbers. Unless you're like you two, you don't even really know the numbers.
Yeah, because
I don't even know what the fuck you guys are talking about over here.
Yeah, like people on the hustle are not paying labs to test. It's too expensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
what you're saying makes 100% sense, but I didn't know what the hell you were talking about. But it makes sense now, you know. Like, yeah, but what I want to say is, like, when we were kids, and well, Chardele was a good girl, but when me and you were kids, we smoked a lot of weed, and we didn't give a fuck what it was, and it came, and we got it, and we didn't care if there was mold. I smoked the fuckers. I didn't even look for mold. I was like, I'm smoking this shit. I'm pulling all the.
We weren't educated. We weren't educated, but I can tell you, when I came into the legal industry 10, 11 years ago, I started to become educated. And I transitioned from starting to gain an education to doing everything for myself. All my own extraction, all my own preparation of product, my own cultivation, because I saw what was going on. You know, I saw the cuts that we sold in the business I worked for.
Well, I know that you always heard about, you know, your powdered stuff getting cut with baking soda or whatever, you know, but you know, you never really had to worry about weed, and now like you didn't think you had to worry anyway. We didn't know, we didn't have the knowledge, but now we're getting that knowledge, you know. And like I told you, I've bought in dabs from people, and I heard now it could have been a second or third press. And I wanted to talk to Dr. High about something also. THCA in a crystal like form now. You can like buy it, and you dab it. Is that diamonds? Is that just straight diamonds? And he was just
diamonds. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Somebody was telling me they had THCA and they were getting really trashed off of it, like a weird, really
because
weird
it's
high.
99. It's 99 because of the crystallization process. It's 99.9% pure THCA. But as soon as you add heat to it, the A comes off, the carbolic molecule comes off, and now it's THC. So it's 99.9 THC once you add heat.
Yeah,
that's why they're getting ripped from it.
Because he was getting pretty baked this morning. He ended up having to leave. He was like, "I'll be back. I gotta go."
It's as pure as it gets.
Yeah,
it's like CBD isolate. It's as pure as it gets. Right.
All right. I don't want to get off. I don't want to get off topic, but I just wanted to ask you that.
Another thing I was really curious about, Chardele. You have participated in some studies, right? Australia and the United Kingdom, perhaps. Could you tell us a little bit about those?
Okay, so these were like I want to say 2 months worth of surveys, questions. It was more for them to try to put the esophageal cancer with the cannabis and trying to figure out how that's working.
Trying to link the two, your result with inclusion of cannabis, and trying to figure out the mechanisms in the cannabis that are responsible for your recovery.
Right. And also to see were there other things in my environment or my living that were encouraging cancer, stifling it, chemicals in the home, things like that. So it was really broad, but we did touch on cannabis. And when we did, I thought it was ironic that what they were following more was mood swings. Have you been depressed when you take it? And so on and so forth. It wasn't the scientific of the strains and amounts and all of that. It was, how are you feeling? What is it doing to your body?
Overall, right? What is your overall quality of life? Quality of life. There we go again. How's your quality of life?
That's the most important thing under any circumstance is quality of life. It doesn't matter. When you get sick, you feel like you've lost control. You know what I mean? Like, we're so used to being in control of ourselves that when something happens to us that we can't control, it's very personal. And that loss of control is probably,
it could drive a person crazy,
damaging as anything else. So when somebody finds that they can include cannabis along with their traditional treatment regimen, and they're feeling better and their quality of life goes up, they feel like they've regained some control. And that is very powerful, because a lot of healing is psychological too. It's not just physical, but there's a big mental component to it.
Yes. And I will say that every day that I woke up, I said, oh, you don't have this cancer. Oh, hurry up and get there. You'll be fine. I drove myself to radiation every day. I was alone, COVID. No one could come visit. No one could help. I just moved here. I just barely knew my neighbors.
Let me ask you a question. Were you a smoker all your life, or was this just out of nowhere, esophageal cancer? I mean, did they blame smoking for it?
No, I don't think you can blame smoking. I think when you get cancer, it is a combination of things. I think one, you're probably have high stress. While I was moving and packing and high stress.
Stress causes cancer. My mom was one of the most stressed people in the world at her point in life. I was a bad kid. I was driving her nuts. She was trying to keep me under control. She had a husband a new husband.
I'm sorry, Mississippi.
Complete asshole. No, not Mississippi. Her new husband was abusive, and she realized she had made a mistake in her choices. She was just a very stressed woman, and then she ended up with lung cancer. Then it exploded and went everywhere, and then ended up in her brain. But I've told Dr. High this story, and I'll tell you. This was back in the late 90s, 99, 98, somewhere around there. And my wife worked at a hospital, in the medical hospital, in the college side of university on Long Island. I don't know. You may have heard of it, Stony Brook University. Anyway, she worked there, and she was a secretary for one of the bigwigs up there, and they gave her some stuff. And they said, "Shh, don't tell nobody." And they slipped her some stuff, and they said, "Give this to your boyfriend." We were only dating at that time. And they said, "Try this with his mom." And we didn't know what it was. It came in like a jar, and it was black tar looking like, and then they said, "Start using this on an everyday." And they gave her, but I was only a teen, so I really didn't even know. I was getting high and trying to figure out why my mom was going to die, let alone, but she was taking that, and they gave her 6 months to live. She ended up living for 2.5 years. I mean, the last year wasn't very quality life, but overall, I feel like that was like one of the first people who may have gotten some Rick Simpson oil on the side, trying to figure out whether it was going to work or not, because when they gave her the chemo and the radiation, she wasn't able to take it. She passed away on the table in front of me from the chemo, and they actually brought her back to life and saved her life. And then said, "You're not going to get chemo anymore. You're going to get this generic brand of chemo, and hopefully you're going to live." And it was not looking good. And big shout out to Mrs. Hippie and people up at the hospital for giving me 2 extra years of time with my life and with my mom,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that about your mom, but that's really special because that is what we do. We step up and we try to help. It's not about the money. Like I'm in, and you said it earlier, the marijuana world that we're accustomed to is we're here to help.
Yeah.
But yet there are people that are in the industry that are looking at the almighty dollar, and that not something.
Unfortunately, yes, it's going to get taken over by the dollar, and it'll no longer be a medical thing again. It'll be just like pills, they'll be like fixing it or whatever to make.
And they've ensured that because the barrier to entry are the licensing fees and the build out of your facilities.
$55 million. I was looking it up this morning to get a license here in the United. $55 million or $65 million to get a license.
They know what's coming, right? And I guarantee you, there's not a lot of cannabis entrepreneurs out there sitting on $55 million. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And you have to be responsible to those investors, and they're going to push you away from the quality that you should be at because they're more concerned with the bottom dollar. I was talking with Hippie one day. The facility I worked in, our production cost was probably between $4.60 and $5 a gram. Mm-hmm. Yet on the marketplace in Canada, you have to go through different phases before you can bring your product from the manufacturer to the consumer. So you have an interim phase where you're allowed to cultivate, but you don't have a retail sales license. And that phase can take about 2 years. And during that 2 years, you can only sell B2B. So you can sell your product to other licensed producers who do have the ability to put the product into the retail market. But there, you're only getting a couple of dollars a gram. So on every gram we were producing, we were losing $2.50 to $3 per gram. And then we had years of a stretch like that before we could ever get into that pathway to the legal market. So, they've made it so if this does go legal in the States, the people who get to take advantage of it are the ones who are already wealthy. You're not going to see
right. And then they'll get their political party sponsors to help them, and then it'll all become political, and it'll all become a bunch of bullshit again.
Yeah, because they want to control that, and they know there's a lot of money to be had with this. And I think we've talked about the medical side of it quite a bit because that's really our focus, right? Is on the benefit to people here, more so than the recreational side, but. It's going to be 20 years before doctors are comfortable prescribing cannabis in any real way, shape, or form, because first you're going to need federal legalization. Then you're going to need a period of time in which universities are studying cannabis and coming to results. Those results will filter into the medical schools. The doctors will start learning, and then the doctors come out of medical school and they're ready to work with cannabis. So there's still a long haul before we see the medical aspect of it obtain the status that this plant really should have in people's lives. right? And that's when the stigma will finally be broken, I think, but it's going to still take a long time to get there.
I think it's going to take a long time, but I think that I educate as much as I can to my doctors. There are other doctors that are very interested in it, that are doing dabs at home at night to see what it does to them, and
Really?
and smoking, and nurses doing the same thing. Apparently nurses are far more astute in this medical than I myself am, but yet they're reaching out to me to learn the oil. So I think there's an interest out there, but here's the other problem you have. Like you said, you have congressmen tied up. I'm hearing they're tied up in the labs, and that's why the labs are like that, and the money, and governors, and everybody's got their money in this pot. And that's what makes it.
Dr. High told me that Philip Morris, I'm pretty sure, has already got all the names for all their marijuana cigarettes already copyrighted and ready to go. So as soon as it's time, they'll be ready to flip them out.
And they've had them ready for a very long time. So
exactly. Here's the problem we have in the United States. I'm fortunate my state is legal, medicinal, and recreational. Not every state is. And they will handcuff you and arrest you. And it's really sad.
They play no games in America. I know for a fact.
I think what America's doing is watching Canada fuck it up. And then as they fuck it up, they're trying to say, all right, we can't do that because they screwed that up.
Canada was... So. I understood Canada. And for the first 5 years of legalization, they were very, very conservative. Right? Extremely conservative, because they didn't understand the impact to society and how this would actually go over, right? If they're subject to the same stigma as we've all been for the last 80 years. Don't forget, these politicians have had this pounded into them too. Although our generation has had its experimentation with cannabis, and almost everybody in our generation has tried it at some point, right? In high school, as a young adult.
All those doctors, they can tell you they didn't do it when they were in college, but 90%
almost all of them have tried, but then they have professional considerations, right? If your colleague finds out that you're a cannabis user, then will he report you to your medical society if you have an issue? You know what I mean? So there's concern. But what Chardele's saying is really right about, there are doctors who are becoming very interested in this. We are fortunate enough that tomorrow we're going to have Dr. Harris with us, who's a prescribing physician in Pennsylvania.
He's my doctor.
And it's going to be an extremely interesting program to see his perspective. I was lucky enough to sit in on almost 100 patient-doctor conferences. When Canada first moved towards legalization, we had a phase which was the access to cannabis for medical purposes regulations, which allowed people to cultivate at home their own medicine instead of being to go through a licensed producer because of the expense, right? But first you had to be prescribed, and it was very difficult to find doctors who were willing or able to prescribe cannabis, because they have to go through a regimen here to get authorized to write those prescriptions, right? Each province has a different format that they have to go through, but they have to go through. And I was lucky enough to know somebody who had access to a pool of doctors who were open to writing cannabis prescriptions. So I worked with right around 100 people and got them matched to the doctors and sat in on those conferences, because it was all done through telemedicine, online. And I learned a ton during that period of time, right? And these doctors were really knowledgeable, much more than I expected them to be. So I think that there's great promise if we can find these people, and then they can spread the word amongst their colleagues. How did your doctor, your cancer doctor, think about your transition once you included cannabis? Like, was your doctor already a cannabis-friendly doctor who advised patients to try this course of action? Or was he somebody who wasn't, he or she, somebody who wasn't really in tune with cannabis as a form of additional therapy for this type of treatment, and by watching your transition was kind of startled or surprised by it, or how did that work out?
Okay, so my oncologist, I have a wonderful oncologist. He knows I'm a medicinal marijuana card holder. I don't think that has phased him one way or another. However, I will tell you, my back doctor, I have a back doctor, my spine doctor. My spine doctor comes from the UK.
Okay.
And my spine doctor says to me, Chardele, if I get dementia or when I get old, you better be at my door with those gummies that are so whatever you got over there.
So he's already on board too.
They know it does something. Look, it like you said, I'm learning every day. We have to afford them that opportunity of that learning curve.
Yes.
And like I said, some of them are going home and trialing it or seeing what it does to their body. They understand the endocannabinoid system in the body.
Well, that's like he said before, it's been pounded. Unfortunately, those doctors that are ahead of us and older than us or in the same age as us, it's been pounded in our heads all our lives that it's bad. It's a Schedule 1 or whatever it's called drug, and it's as bad as cocaine and heroin and blah, blah, blah.
Actually, according to the schedule, it's worse because heroin and cocaine are Schedule 2 and cannabis is Schedule 1.
Oh.
Which means that according to the people who put this in place, heroin and cocaine actually have some medical value where cannabis has none. So that's where it sits in the scheduling.
That's crazy.
Which is absolutely absurd. Truly absurd.
All right. I got to do a commercial and we'll be right back. Chardele, you still got time to hang with us if you're willing. Oh, awesome. Absolutely. All right. We'll be right back with Chardele, Dr. High, and this guy, the hippie.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be right back.
Say bye-bye to bottled water. Holistic Health Water has certified medical-grade water ionizers that make 7 types of water, including healthy alkaline. There's a 5-micron filter that lasts up to a year, and each machine lasts 25 to 30 years. Simply attach to your faucet or install under your sink. Even get a mineral spa unit for your shower. Go to ownyourwater.org to get a free ebook. Plus, pay for any machine in full and get an extra filter free. Change your water and change your life. Ownyourwater.org.
Okay, men. This is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Everything world is tougher than tough. Care guides you need at aarp.org. Giving. A public service announcement brought to AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my
frozen
nieces
there,
grow,
buddy.
play, and learn is amazing. But not every child
Yeah, I
gets
know.
to be
It's like
hungry. 1 in 6 kids in the US
a
are
while
hungry.
into the show it starts.
6. That little girl
I
sitting
know.
alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey, you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you. Are you looking to have crochet made by hand stuff like your Grammy used to do for you? Then you need to check out You Have Me Hooked 23 on Etsy and TikTok. Vern can do what you need. She crochets hats, she crochets animals, everything, anything you may need. She also makes vinyl stickers, banners for your business. Anything
Love
that
you,
you
Lori.
might want that she can do, she can definitely do it for you. You want an I Hate My Ex sticker? She's got you covered. Anything. And I mean anything. She has cheap and reasonable prices. Check her out. You Have Me Hooked 23 on Etsy and TikTok.
Oh, yeah, baby, it's Muck Sticky. Join me as I return to the stage for the first time in over 4 years, September 16th and 17th, 2023, in Jacobsburg, Ohio, at the OVDJ Campout. It's gonna be a wild time, baby. The Mucker ship has returned to Earth, and I'm bringing you all back to outer space. Get your tickets online. Check out the OVDJ Campout on Facebook events or go to mucksticky.com.
Quick song, and then we'll be back. Happy 420, everybody.
When it's cold or when it's hot, you know we smoke lots of pot every single day, every single day. If you're ever in need, you know we smoke lots of weed every single day, every single day. Yeah, I know it seems like all I ever talk about is smoking weed, but I know you like it too, and my bag don't have a seed, so I'm motivated, singing songs and posting lots of cannabis. I've been to Amsterdam a time or two, and
I could tell when I
keep a double bubble gum and lots of cream, Moroccan hash, purple power, yellow gabba, nothing makes you fruity grass. If you want answers on the positive effects of sticky fingers, thanks to me, and each one day we'll smoke more than you've ever seen. It's colder when it's hot, you know we smoke lots of pot every single day, every single day. If you're ever
But you saw what I did. We had to go through everything. I didn't even know what I had.
every single day, cooking trees and singing songs, rolling blunts and
I
packing
just
bombs
like the
every
taste
single
of
day,
that chicken
every
and just
single
I
day.
like that.
If you plan on stopping by, you can plan on getting high every single day, every single day. And if you're happy,
Come on, Dr. High. You're supposed to dance with me.
if you're lifting, then you show me, clap your hands.
What is it?
I'm just not as motivated. There's nobody got a fist up my butt.
No, that's it.
We can get Mrs. High over there.
No, please.
Don't ask. You could receive.
No.
So eventually you'll smell it.
Every single day.
Every single day. If you're ever in need, you know we smoke lots of weed every single day.
It's very
Every
funny.
single day. Puffing trees and singing songs, rolling blunts and packing bongs every single day. Every single day. So if you plan on stopping by, you can plan on getting high every single day. Every single day.
Then I end up opening all this up and putting them. Everybody has their own little craziness. You know what I mean? They're surprised.
We're back.
Surprised.
WTHC, good afternoon over here on the East Coast. Good morning to everybody all the way over there on the West Coast. You guys are awesome, giving me an extra time today to smoke some more weed. I appreciate those extra 420s. I love them. Anyway, we're hanging out with Dr. High, and we have our friend Chardele. Chardele is amazing. She's a walking miracle right there. We're so blessed to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. I don't even know where to go. Dr. High, you got more questions for Chardele?
I just wanted to go backwards a little bit because you were talking about, going up to the mountains and working with the oilers and then not investing yourself in the equipment and things like that. Could you, I'm curious, what sort of equipment are they using that would require real investment? Because I know RSO can be produced very, very simply at home. So what sort of process are they using there that requires equipment?
I don't know if it, well, a lot of them have a Rawson press.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I don't like a lot of them have a lot of extra things that I just don't have. But when I go to the mountains, one oiler may decarb his pot, and the other one doesn't, and one may use Everclear and recycle, and the other one they just do things whatever's their comfortable,
Right.
and
Because
whatever is
basically,
working.
decarboxylation is occurring as you remove the alcohol anyway. You know,
Correct.
based off
That's why I don't do it.
Yeah, because you're going above 181 degrees to remove the alcohol anyway, and decarboxylation is occurring anyway. So there's no additional need. So some of these guys are actually extracting the cannabis through the process of rosin and then turning the rosin into RSO.
Mhm.
Okay.
You know, I think, how do I explain this? For me, I think RSO is man-made, period. There is a lot of labor put into it and a lot of love. And that's why I think it works. It's not just the labor, it's the love. It's for me, I'm helping someone else. Hopefully they don't have to walk that damn journey I walked.
Right.
You know, if I can help you not have to go down the road I went down, it's all good. If I can help you I had fentanyl patches and liquid morphine. If I can help you get off those opioids, then it's worth it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, we were looking at some information yesterday that had come out of Ohio. I don't remember the two universities. I think one was Bowling Green and the other was University of Illinois. But they had done a study that had done an analysis of the insurance, medical insurance, over the last 14 years since legalization had occurred. And they found that in states where medical cannabis had been legalized, insurance premiums dropped by an average of $1,600. You know what I mean? Like, this is saying something.
There it is, right there. I mean,
yeah, when insurance premiums are going down because of cannabis.
Well, there's a few factors. I think cannabis, I think the fact that they picked up acupuncture is now picked up. Not all insurances, but I think so. Like I said, it's a slow learning curve for them. We have to give them that opportunity. My acupuncturist in town does acupuncture free for cancer patients. So I'm in this wonderful community of people willing to learn, not closed-minded, open-minded, willing to give, willing to sacrifice to help you get on your journey and make your journey a little easier.
Yeah. And you know what you're saying, it's you believe that it's not just that you're making it yourself, but that you're putting your passion and your love into it. And you know, I think there is something to be said for this sort of thing. I think there's some sort of thread that runs through the universe that actually picks up on these sort of things, right? I think it's a reason that when a congregation in church prays for a member, that member can receive some healing benefit from those prayers, because there's an energy that's been sent from the community to help. So yeah, I can see where this could be a lot of esoteric stuff that we don't understand. And there's no reason that couldn't be a part of it, for sure.
Right. I think there's a big arena we have touched. I think artwork, my girlfriend Kat's on there. I think artwork is healing. I think music is healing. But again, you have to know yourself. Music is healing for me. Artwork is healing for me. Is it healing for you?
Yeah.
And again, energy.
I got it, and I agree with you guys 100%. The energy, we're all made of energy. It's all, you know, but I want to know, and we didn't really touch on it too much. I mean, what was how did it go? Like, I mean, all of a sudden your esophagus just cleaned up and was like, we're better.
Well, certainly, listen, chemo, as
there was no surgeries involved. I mean, just chemo and radiation, no surgeries, right?
No. The oncologist, it's a process. It's get you Ned, rush you into surgery, and then we think we're good. Well, I did the research on the surgery. I did the research on the surgeons. There's very few that do this because, again, the numbers in esophageal cancer are low. Maybe 19,000 cases a year, 17,000 die.
Oh yeah, I was going to say it's like pancreatic cancer.
The survival rate is low, is what you mean.
Yeah, the mortality rate is super high, eh?
The mortality is super high. It's a very small number of people in that bucket. So to get money to do research and so on and so forth, it's not there like breast cancer. And it shouldn't be there because, again, it's a small amount of people versus breast cancer, colon, prostate. You've got
but I feel like it should be for all. It shouldn't be just for, like breast cancer. Great, you made yourself a group. But, I mean, cancer is cancer, and they should all be grouped in together, and the love should be shown to everybody. And it doesn't matter if you got cancer of your toe or you got cancer of your esophagus. Everybody deserves Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm good. That's okay. I just wanted to stress that because it is different.
Yeah.
Well, but go ahead. I want to hear more about your recovery. So how did it go? I mean, so you started taking this RSO and things just started getting better, and your doctor was like shocked and jaw dropping, or was it? Did you explain that and I missed it? Because things go in one side and come out the other sometimes.
Okay, so let me be fair to everyone listening. I am not going to tell you that RSO is the be all to end all. I did a lot of things. I did acupuncture. I did Reiki. I did massage. I did cupping. I did research on Asage tea, which is an all natural tea. I got the Asage tea. My girlfriend sent it to me.
Oh, what was that other stuff you mentioned earlier? The puffy stuff. No, the willow or something like that you mentioned earlier.
Milk thistle.
Yeah, that's it. Milk thistle. What was that for? What were you using that for in place of the CBD?
No, milk thistle is a vitamin that will keep your liver cleansed and help the liver regenerate cells if necessary. So whenever you are taking anything, chemo, alcohol, anything, you should be keeping your liver cleansed. We only get one liver, right? We want to keep it clean. If you take RSO, or any kind of diet for that matter, and you're not drinking enough water, it'll tax your liver. And you don't want to tax the liver. The liver can, will swell up. You'll be in discomfort and pain. And you don't want to play with the liver. So we try to keep the liver clean. The other thing RSO will do is lower your blood pressure a little bit. I've already have low blood pressure, so that was something I wanted to be aware of. But anyway, so between they offered surgery, I opted not to do the surgery. I needed to do more research. In the meantime, I'm doing maintenance dose, maybe sometimes more or less, depending on my pain level, because you still have issues eating. In the meantime, I kept doing blood work and scans, and they're all coming back clear, and they keep coming back clear, and they keep coming back clear. So I cannot honestly say it's just the RSO. I did a lot of things.
It could be the overall combination of everything. It could have been just the RSO. We're not saying it wasn't. We don't know. We've heard of other stories where it was RSO was involved in helping people. I know two people who were on the verge of dialysis and are no longer on the verge of dialysis. It's completely reversed and started going backwards, and they're on their way to healthy because they started an RSO regimen. And then of course my mom's story is always one that I go back to because I feel like that was an RSO that I didn't know. And she said it was disgusting. I remember her saying it was horrible to eat and drink, and she didn't like it, and she fought them every day when she had to take it because it was gross. But she did it, and whatever the outcome was the outcome. But so,
and let me say, out of a lot of the states, I have watched Pennsylvania, and I think you have some of the best doctors out there, and I think they understand it. I don't like the synthetic marijuana pill that they give out, but
Miracle?
but I think they understand. I think they understand it, and there's some great doctors in Pennsylvania. I have a lot of family and friends out there. I've heard some great things.
Oh, well, then we're going to have to hang out when you come out here to visit your family and friends. We're going to get high, I guess. But so how is eating and drinking now? Is it still an issue? Is it better? Is it horrible?
No, it is still an issue. It probably will be the rest of my life. So what happens is, I'm feeling discomfort, or it's the food's not going down, and I'm feeling this burning. I'm quickly calling my oncologist. I can walk in anytime and do blood work. There's markers they look for, and right now I'm doing Signatera testing, which is they take my blood, they match it up to the blood of when I had the tumor, and they let it spit out the results.
Wow.
It takes a long time to get results, but it's a continuous testing, and that's what we're doing. So what happens is I panic. I get that anxiety that, oh my God, it's back.
That might be that sativa that you love so much.
I've got to control my mind and go, relax. We'll figure it out. If it's back, don't worry, we'll tackle it. Because if I don't, it's going to eat my body and encourage whatever's happening to keep happening.
That's another thing that I've always heard. You can't have that negative mindset. You always have to say, it's over. I'm fine. I'm going to be great. I'm going to make it through this. It's not an issue. It's, as soon as you start getting down on yourself, that's when then you start to lose that battle, unfortunately.
Well, and you know what's a really good indicator of that is that professional sports teams spend a lot of money on psychologists to work with athletes on visualization of positive outcomes during matches and events and games. So if some of the biggest money makers that we know, which are professional athletes, if these teams are spending the money to put these people in the right frame of mind, it only makes sense that that mindset would be the one we'd want to seek when we're dealing with something as personal as, a medical condition, a cancer or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or any of that sort of thing, So I think that the mental side of it is not to be discounted ever when it comes to recovery.
Absolutely. Even the wrong mental state is definitely going to cause issues. But that causes issues, like they said, stress causes cancer, So when you're stressed out, that's like one of the biggest things I've always heard was stress is like one of the leading causes of cancer. I don't know how it happened.
Did they want you to move away from sugar and stuff like that when you were diagnosed? Because I think they say that there's
No, again, know your cancer. Esophageal cancer, we can't swallow anyway. So my doctor was, anything you can get down, eat it. It doesn't matter what it is.
So you lived on Ensure for a while and Boosts and all
time.
that kind of stuff. I used to work in a hospital, so I remember I had the cancer floor. I was in food service, but I was, I made sure their diets were correct and Ensures and Boosts and stuff like that for anybody who couldn't eat properly. Yeah.
A lot of people get feeding tubes. My gastroenterologist would not put a feeding tube in me. I was too, from what I understand from my EMT friends now, I was too thin. As a matter of fact, when my EMT people that used to come take me to the hospital all the time, it's a great story. They don't get to see the other end. I went to a social function and the girl looked at me and started crying and said, I have been to your house. I cannot believe you're alive and standing, because they don't get to see that side.
Yeah, they bring you to the hospital and then they're like, okay, I hope you live. I had the same situation. I was a firefighter and I was in a very bad car accident. And we know all the EMTs, and when she dropped me off at the hospital, she knew me and she was like, goodbye. And then, we didn't know, it was a bad accident. And then luckily I lived and I'm home. And then we had a fundraiser they ran a fundraiser for me, and she came to the fundraiser and she was like crying and, oh my God, you're here. We didn't know what was going on with you, but that was, I was in the hospital for quite some time. So she had heard that I was going to live, but she was just glad to see me again. I wasn't walking at that time, but it was good. Anyway, sorry. get on
Do you
those.
have do you have any stories of people that you've worked with that have had like really kind of huge transformations after going towards the RSO and working through that? Is there anybody who particularly sticks out in your mind that you could say, this person really was beyond, right? And then they started to bring in the RSO and they found a tremendous change? Or
Okay, so I cannot speak for those people that may be getting oil or are online. I don't know their environment, but I will speak for the people here that I coach.
yeah, we're interested in.
I have a 93-year-old woman that does gummies and RSO.
I love her already.
She was on morphine, dying in her bed, and she decided she wanted to live. And somehow we got connected. And the last I saw her, she was on the back of her son's Harley going for a ride.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you're coaching them, so it's not just the RSO. You're obviously telling them about all the other things that are involved, which is all quality of life. Quality of life.
Yeah.
You know?
Mindset. I think a lot is mindset.
Right.
The mind feeds the body. Again, I've been in hospice twice. I know what happens in hospice. I love hospice, don't get me wrong, but it is morphine.
Yeah.
And that I don't even understand it, because the morphine is pulling down your immune system more. But I guess when you're in the throes of cancer, they want to control the pain and yet still give you immunotherapy. When those two contradict each other, it's a very fine line. For that,
I want to cut you off for a second. The morphine, like, that's gonna make you not want to speak your mind as well. Like, it's keeping you from speaking your what you want to say.
Yeah,
They're drugging you up to the, when they put me in the hospital, I had a cousin who passed away from an Oxycontin overdose, and I was totally against them. I'm like, no, I don't want them. And they're like, dude, your leg is broken in half. You need to take these. And I fought them. And I was like, no, but they ended up winning and I ended up taking them. But as soon as I was able to get off of them, I was like, I'm off of them. Get me off of them. And then Mrs. Hippie may or may not have snuck me in a couple cartridges, and I may have. But I took care of my pain the way I needed to take care of my pain, not the way they wanted me to. And I spoke my mind. And now when I go into a doctor's office, I immediately tell them I'm a weed smoker and you ain't changing that. You can tell me what you want, but this is what's saving me. I'm 52 and they do blood work. I'm a big guy. I don't know. You can't see the big guy over here, but he's a big guy, 400 pounds. And he goes in and they're like, your blood pressure's perfect. Your cholesterol's perfect, a little high, but everything's good. Why would I change something if everything's going well? And I've been smoking weed since I was a wee little fella. And I feel like now I'm going to get on an RSO regimen on a regular. Why not start preventing anything? If it's going to help, it's going to help. And, and if it doesn't, what the hell? I got high.
I would love to hear you after you do it, because when you do it, it activates, like I said, receptors. You're going to feel great. You may be a little groggy, but once the body...
I'm an indica guy by far, but I get through it. I know when I start smoking in the morning, that first joint, I'm like, oh, I could go back to bed. But that second joint, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I can go. I'm pumped up and ready to go. But I love my sativas, but they get me in trouble, so I have to behave. Yeah. Weed, they say weed is not good for bipolar. They try to tell us that. They try to tell us it's not good for a lot of things. Still, doctors today, we were talking in the back room earlier before you came on, and we were discussing our show today, and they were saying that somebody told me, oh God, it came in and went out really quick, that their doctor is still telling them no because of something that they had wrong with them, and they were like, no, you can't. And then yesterday we had our friend Fulton Blocks came on, and he's got that, what did you call it, Dr. High? That marijuana.
Hypomesis.
Yeah.
Cannabis hypomesis.
That's sad.
Where people are intolerant, that causes them actually to vomit and get very sick for when they ingest THC.
That's horrible. I feel bad for anybody who's got that.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question, Chardele. Now, I know this is probably a little silly, but the other day I drank that bottle of that crap that they gave me that didn't work. And it didn't do anything, but I left a residue in my throat and my neck and my mouth of, I guess, like the oils and stuff. With esophagus, I know there's nothing yet, but I mean, are they working on anything to help with like numbing with THC? Like something that you could drink that would numb your throat?
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, great question. Because about 2 weeks ago when
I'm pretty good at that because I'm dumb, so I come up with good questions.
Oh, it's a great question. I was having challenges and my blood work showed inflammation. So we quickly get this mouthwash that has lidocaine in it. It's a mouthwash. Do not swallow it.
Right. I think I've had it for a mouth infection or some teeth infection or something back in the day.
You shake it. You put it in your mouth and you just hold it in your mouth as long as you can and you spit it out. It numbs that, which then numbs the burning.
Right. So is that what they gave you to use to help with your throat for swallowing? So it was more of a lidocaine than anything marijuana. I wonder if they're working on something marijuana will like, because I mean, lidocaine is what? It's some sort of a drug, right? It's some sort of a bad thing, right?
Well,
I mean, I would rather have marijuana numb my throat if I could.
If you look at the cane at the end, it might be an indicator of what kind of
Listen, I was trying to leave that part out.
What kind of substance they're using to create that numbing sensation?
Yes, I used to love when my lips were numb like that.
One of the medical uses for cocaine currently is eye surgery. To numb eyes when they do eye surgery, cocaine is used for this. It has some applications in the dental field. So I wouldn't be surprised if there might be something involved with the lidocaine. I don't know.
I'm not against lidocaine. I enjoyed it when I had it. You know, it definitely helps at the dentist. It's definitely. I was allergic to Novocaine for a very long time, so I thought I was when I was a wee little puppet. They gave me. Now I have new teeth. When I was a wee little puppet, they gave me a shot, and my whole head swelled up to the size of a pumpkin, and I turned black and blue in my face. But it turned out that the dentist was a dumbass and just hit a nerve. But I went like 30 years without getting Novocaine. In fact, I was a chef and I've cut my fingers cutting my fingers numerous times. I've cut my fingers numerous times and had to get stitches with no Novocaine because I'm a dumbass. And finally I went and got tested and they were like, no, you're not allergic to Novocaine, you shithead. I was like, oh, great. All those stitches for nothing. Anyway, I got to do another commercial, and we'll be right back. We're hanging with Chardele and DoktorHigh and myself. Me, the hippie. Excuse me.
Say bye-bye to bottled water. Holistic Health Water has certified medical-grade water ionizers that make 7 types of water, including healthy alkaline.
I'm sorry if I'm embarrassing you,
There's a 5-micron filter that lasts up to a year. Each machine lasts 25 to 30 years. Simply attach to your faucet or install under your sink.
I'm doing my best
Even
to
get a
behave.
mineral spa unit for your shower. Go to ownyourwater.org. Get a free ebook. Plus, pay for any machine in full and get an extra filter free. Change your water and change your life. Ownyourwater.org.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Are you looking to have some crocheted made by hand stuff like your Grammy used to do for you? Then you need to check out You Have Me Hooked 23 on Etsy and TikTok. Vern can do what you need. She crochets hats, she crochets animals, anything you may need. She also makes vinyl stickers, banners for your business. Anything that you might want that she can do, she can definitely do it for you. You want an I Hate My Ex sticker? She's got you covered. Anything, and I mean anything that you may need. She has cheap and reasonable prices. Check her out. You Have Me Hooked 23 on Etsy and TikTok.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad? Your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
She can't keep her eyes off of me, this
When you
Chardele
help care
chick.
for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can,
She keeps
making sure
staring
they're
at me.
safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can
Chardele,
maintain
I
a
have to
healthy
tell you,
life
I'm
balance,
married.
care for your own physical and mental health, and the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of
Although
yourself, the
Arizona
better care you
sounds
can provide
wonderful.
for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Yeah, you have to take that off.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well,
Yeah.
I raised my older sister
Mhm.
an oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Awesome.
Where were you, Jill?
You don't have it in a bag? No. Oh, I must have taken
Not
it
that far.
out.
Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your
All right, we're
parents to
back.
take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
WTHC. Good afternoon and good morning to everybody out there. We are hanging. It's me, the hippie, and my good buddy, Dr. High, and our friend Chardele, who has been here all morning with us. Thank you so very much for coming in and hanging out with us and telling us your story. It's been amazing. We have about 10 or 12 minutes. Dr. High usually, I don't know, you can't keep up with him. I don't know if he's sticking up.
This is just a part of what I do during the day. You know, I got other things I need to do also.
I know.
You know, like I found it was interesting because when you first started talking about your situation, you were saying that once you had done some research, it gave you the confidence to speak to your doctor and to approach this with him. And when I started Dr. High, that was my intention, was to give people the evidence to allow them to find everything in one spot and gain the confidence to talk to a doctor. Like no cannabis scholar is going to read anything I've done and be enlightened by any of it. You know what I mean? But it wasn't intended to do that either. It wasn't intended for people who are already knowledgeable in this space. It was intended for people who either played around with weed when they were younger and lived their adult lives without it and now are finding themselves in a situation where it would be beneficial. Or you're somebody who's never touched it at all and is now confronting some sort of medical condition and has heard that maybe cannabis could be useful, but doesn't know, right? And if you start doing your own research online, it's very difficult. You could go onto Amazon, spend $30 on a book and find one page that talks about your situation. Right? And that's not beneficial to you at all. That's not going to give you the information you need. And that's why the books that I've done are all referenced. Everything that's stated in these books are referenced back to the clinical or observational trials, because it's just designed to give information to people that says, you know what, there seems to be enough.
Enough what? Come on, man. Sober up.
From reputable sources that says the confidence to speak to a doctor. And I think
he froze.
Yeah, that's the most
important. He's almost back.
Joy of living in the country. Yeah.
He's moving to the city
That's
soon.
what happens
We'll have
when you live out in the woods.
Anyway,
yeah.
Yes. So go ahead,
Better
Dr.
off.
High. We missed that little bit, that last little bit right there.
Yeah,
What we were saying.
that's just a really important thing, right? And I think a lot of people are intimidated to step up and talk to their doctor about it. And then especially when their doctor is resistant to the conversation, if people aren't armed with enough knowledge to say to the doctor, no, I mean, you're coming from where you're coming from, but there's this over here that says it's possible too, and I'd like to try it. You know what I mean? That's really a necessary component, is people having the confidence to approach a doctor in the first place. and discuss this topic, right? So
the possibilities anyway, at least have it open as a opening to, you know, there is possibilities. Chardele, are you still taking, like, do you still, I mean, I know you're coaching. Do you have like a way that people can contact you, or are you accepting new people? Do you do it by Zoom so people can contact you via Zoom from Canada in case my friend Marcel's sister wants to talk to you?
Oh, absolutely. Whatever, I leave the media choice up to the patient, because I want them to be comfortable.
Okay.
I will do any one. It doesn't bother me, but my focus is the patient, and I want them to be comfortable so that they'll share with me things I want to know, so I can guide you and coach you.
Yeah.
So let's keep it going now and tell everybody, because this is going to be up forever on Facebook and YouTube. The people out there on the radio might need to grab a pen and paper and write it down right now, but everybody else, or you can go to Facebook and YouTube and watch this later. Please tell us the way they can find you and get a hold of you and be able to reach out to you and, you know, start working with you.
The best way right now would be probably, or the quickest would be my cell number, direct or text message.
Do you want to give that out on the air, or?
Yeah.
That might not be the brightest idea.
Because what we like to think, everybody who pays attention to us as good people, we can be kind of sure that
I've had a couple people come in here and tell me some bad stuff over there in the chat.
Facebook is a place where you roll the dice sometimes.
And like I said, it's going to be up forever, so we don't want to do that. How about Chardele Miller on Facebook? Just look up Chardele Miller on Facebook.
Oh, well, that I probably.
And then you can give them. Then you can give them your phone number. If you look at it, you see it. You might not get back to them right away, but you know, at least then you can give them your private number and not tell everybody.
Okay, so my concern with that is there are 3 Chardele Miller accounts, and probably more, because I've been hacked 3 times and changed out my phone 3 times, and so that concerns me that they won't reach me. I mean, I can give out an email address.
That'll work.
Yeah,
absolutely perfect. Absolutely.
Okay, so my email address is, I will say it and then I'll spell it. It's Mr. Corley at AOL.com. So it's MrCorlie at AOL.com.
Perfect. As long as he says it's
good. You've had that email address for 25 years.
For how many? No. When I got hacked,
you've had it a long time.
When I got hacked, I had to change everything.
Okay.
They had hacked my phone. They had hacked all my apps and changed my password. Oh, it's crazy. So
horrible.
Yeah,
none of our friends out here are going to do that. I promise. You guys behave yourselves over there.
That's very cool.
So you got the email address. Anybody that's listening, if you're coming on tonight and you're watching this later tonight and you found anything interesting and you want to talk to her, please reach out to her email, Mr. something or other, Mr. Crowley.com. Mr. Crowley.
And then I will PM you guys my phone number.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, if you want to private message me your phone number, I might have a couple people that might be interested in reaching out to you, and then I can pass the number on, and then I'll have it here if anybody ever talks to me and I say, hey, you know, you need to reach out to Chardele. She can help you. I want you to get the help you need. You know, that's what it's all about. Quality of life.
I would like to speak with you anyway, because like I said, I can give you electronic copies of all those books that you can give to anybody who you find could use the information, right? And like I said, they're really only designed to provide them with the information they need to make an informed decision about the direction they want to take. and they can go right into the doctor with that book and say, but this study says it's good, or this study says it's good, or these results have been had, if they wanted to, right? So, yeah.
Well, that's what it's all about, is breaking the stigma and getting the balls to be able to go in there and say, hey, this is medicine, and we're done being told that it's not medicine.
Yeah.
And that it can help with pain. It can help with mental illness. It can help with lots of different things.
But the problem is people in our generation and the segment of the population that can benefit the most from cannabis, which would be probably people, 40 and over at this point, would be the greatest segment of the population that can benefit from the inclusion of cannabis. They're still stigmatized too. So it's going to be hard for them to stand up to the doctor when they're not fully convinced themselves that this is the right course of action, right? So, that's part of the challenge, is that not only is the doctor skeptical, but the patient is too.
Exactly.
Right.
You have to go there strong and with the knowledge and with the power. And I felt like getting my license, being serious about it. Look, I know you've got a program for me, but I have a program for me too.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. Stand up for yourself. Don't let them tell you what you're going to do. Don't let them tell you how you're going to feel.
Yeah.
You're going to feel the way you want to feel. Quality of life.
Yeah. I think it's a two-way street. For me, everybody is different. Like for me, with my doctors, I have to trust you. Like my body's a temple. I have to trust you.
Absolutely.
It makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
If I don't trust you, I don't hear you or listen to you. So we're going to have to work together. If I don't trust you, I need to find another doctor.
I just recently changed my primary care physician that I've had for like 10 years because I've been telling him the same problem over and over. And every time he's like, it's diverticulitis. It's diverticulitis. And I'm like, dude, it's not diverticulitis. There's something else wrong. And he wouldn't listen. So now I have a new doctor and we are exploring what it is. And we're already on the way to making me feel better. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to speak for yourself.
Yeah. You do have to have for your own care.
Power. And when you have the knowledge, you have this power.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't have any of this weed knowledge until I met Dr. High. And now every day I learn more and more. And it's just like, I can go to a place now and be like, wow, I know what I'm talking about. I feel like I know what I'm talking about here. And I can represent myself to be my own advocate. This is what I don't want. I don't want this flower. I want this flower because it smells and looks better, or whatever, whatever the choice may be.
Well, and the simple fact of the matter is that there is no proof that cannabis is the cure for anything, but there is a lot of evidence that says it can help. So there's really, in most cases, no harm in including it with your traditional treatment, just to see if, number one, it can accelerate that traditional treatment and give it a more complete result, or secondly, just improve your quality of life while you're undergoing this situation in your life, right?
You already have enough stress on your plate, you don't need doctors giving you bullshit on top of it.
And with cancer, you're getting tested pretty much weekly, every 2 weeks, and the numbers will start showing. And, some people take the RSO, maybe the numbers increased. We have to try to figure out why. Do we back off? Do we stay on it? Is the cancer getting killed? What other factors are there? Let's get the blood work done right away again, sooner. So there's a lot of factors.
It's crazy. Well, I don't know what you guys want to do. Dr. High, are you still with us or are you frozen again? Yeah, he's frozen again.
He's frozen.
I'm frozen.
He's so adorable.
I'm frozen. That's because Canada, Canada, the land of the freeze.
The land of the freeze.
No, I was just going to say what, and that's the thing with cannabis, right? If you took the same RSO and gave it to 100 individuals to take, you're going to have a lot of varieties of results. They're not going to be the same because for some reason, cannabis really interacts on an individual level with each person. There's no kind of standard across the board type thing, right? Every individual kind of responds differently to it. So,
Right. Every individual's chemical makeup is different and changing constantly.
Yeah.
Right, every 7 years, right? Is that what they say? Allergies can change every 7 years. Your chemicals are changing constantly.
Yeah, I think they change constantly. I don't know. And certainly when you're going through cancer, I think they're definitely changing.
Right. Yeah, I imagine there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. But thank you guys for today. Thank you,
Well,
everybody.
thank you.
My goodness. Thank you so very much to being here. We can't thank you enough. My goodness.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Really awesome to have you. Thank you for sharing your experience with us and your knowledge. It's been great. I have picked up things today that I didn't know prior or hadn't considered prior. So, you know, this is part of the reason I love these interactions is because as much as I like to try and teach, I still have a lot to learn too. You know what I mean? So
we all do.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
It's constantly evolving.
The thing is that we're finally allowed to start learning it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're finally allowed to look into it without being frowned upon. You know, that's the thing. You're like,
Well,
you don't
maybe
need
still
to hide in
frowned
the
upon,
library and look at the marijuana book in the library because you can actually pick it up and look at it now.
But it's been awesome. Thank you so much, Chardele.
Yeah, Chardele, thank you
Really
so
appreciate
much.
it.
Anytime you want to come back on, you're more than welcome. Just hit me up. We're friends forever now. Okay, so you're on my phone. We're friends forever. Send me your phone number so I can share it out and give information, any information you want me to be able to share out. The email address again, so that if I have friends that hit me up and they see this episode, I want to be able to pass it on to them so they can get the Chardele love. We're gonna call it the Chardele love.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You can just hang up if you want to go. Thank you so much. You were amazing.
Have a great day.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry about this morning and the miss up with you getting up so early. You didn't have to get up so early.
That's okay. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So Dr. High, that was amazing. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Are you
that
sticking
was
up?
great, eh? Yeah, a couple more minutes.
All right, cool.
More
Yeah, that was awesome. I love
Yeah,
her. She's
really.
a sweetheart. So much information. You know, and she's right. RSO, it may not be the cure to it all, but it's the quality of life. Like, you know, if you're sick, stop worrying. Stop stressing. Go take care of yourself. Get the acupuncture. Get a massage. Keep yourself happy. Make yourself smile. You know, you can't fight. You can't think about it because it's just going to make you feel bad and make you feel worse. You know, I just feel like if you keep a positive attitude, then the potentials are there. You know.
Well, it definitely can't hurt, right?
Yeah.
The power of positive thinking can't do you any harm. So
This guy with his freezing up. How am I supposed to work like this?
that will affect, I think, in the way things progress.
Oh goodness!
No.
How am
But
I
it's so
supposed
cool to have
this?
How am I supposed? It's frustrating, but it's really great, and I hope we have more opportunities like this in the future to speak with people who've had these, you know, these experiences that have, you know, really changed their situation. You know, like pretty incredible, really interesting, very interesting.
It's getting bad now. Hearing myself.
Thank you, Kat. Appreciate it.
Thank everybody. You talk because I'm screaming in my head.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everybody for spending some time with us today. It was a very cool day. And tomorrow is going to be a very cool day, too, because tomorrow we'll have Dr. Harris with us, and we'll have an opportunity to see medical cannabis from the perspective of a physician who actually works with patients every day. So it's going to be really interesting for him to be able to perhaps share some of his knowledge and share some of the patient experiences, like what has he seen that has really kind of taken him by surprise, you know, when he's seen somebody get into using cannabis therapy as an addition to their original or traditional treatment, you know. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm quite excited for that.
Oh, I am too. I can't talk.
And then Friday, we'll talk about mushrooms, which will be another interesting show because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of information that I've never been aware of that will come to light.
The fungi is doing us that day too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he has a lot of knowledge, and he wants to talk to them about
Well, you know what's really cool about that sort of situation. Me, when I'm in a cannabis conversation, I can kind of find questions in there, right? But when it comes to mushrooms, I wouldn't really know maybe what questions I would want answered. They may pop in, but when somebody has some knowledge like Tim does, then he'll be able to really ask more pointed questions that'll be relevant to what he's actually know. You know, yeah, it's going to be very cool.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great week.
Let's get out of here. Echo is killing me. All right, I love you. I will talk to you later.
Great day. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. High noon.